Hey guys, this video is about how to identify sleep efforts and how to work with them once we identify them. First of all, for those who are not familiar with the concept of sleep efforts and are not don't know why we talk about them so much here, I want to say that sleep effort, basically anything that we do with the intention to control sleep, to avoid sleeplessness, and it is something that often fuels insomnia. The more we try to do something for sleep to happen, the more sleepless we get. Essentially, sleep needs no efforts. It is the opposite of doing something. It's something that happens to us, not something that we actively do. Therefore, the journey usually starts with evaluating all our behaviors and seeing which of the behaviors actually contribute to the increase of that fear, of teaching our brain to fear sleeplessness, and then seeing how we can gradually let go of those behaviors that actually create and maintain the problem. So there are three general types of sleep efforts which are helpful to be aware of if we want to get better understanding, like what might be an effort and what might not be an effort. And the first type is usually something that we add on top of what we are already doing. So for example, when I struggled with insomnia, I felt like I need to exhaust my body, so I would go for a run, and then I would I would run for a long time, I would get tired, and I would really expect that because I'm tired, my body will have no problem falling asleep. So my expectation of a certain outcome actually played an evil joke on me, because then I would be tired, and at the same time, because I felt so pressured to sleep after that, I would find myself awake, which would be so disappointing and just would maintain my fear. Then there is another type of sleep efforts which is more about avoidance. We stop doing certain things that we used to do in our life in order to protect sleep. So we would stop drinking coffee, drinking alcohol, we would avoid looking at the screens, or change our plans, not go on the trips, do not meet with our friends in the evening, and so on and so on. So we would actually stop doing something in order to protect sleep. And the third type of sleep efforts is usually the very subtle one and very sneaky, because it might not be about something that we do or not do, but it's about our inner thinking processes. So sometimes people would try to avoid thinking negative thoughts, and then they would try to think positively and force a certain emotions or certain thoughts. And usually different sort of mind-body practices might fall into this category of sleep efforts, where we would do something so innocent like a meditation or a breathing exercise or mindfulness practice, and then we would actually feel even worse after that, because it would not bring us to the desired outcome, and we would feel so discouraged. When I started meditate, I would listen to the guided meditations, and I would hope that by the end of the meditation I would be asleep. And if I wasn't asleep by that time, I would get so frustrated. And this is when I quickly realized that for me, meditation took a form of sleep effort. So I kind of decided to let go of that, because it clearly did not lead me to the place where I wanted to be, but it actually promoted the belief that there is something wrong with me. So yeah, sleep efforts can be sneaky. They can be anything, literally any sort of activities, any sort of our decisions can turn into sleep efforts, because it is essentially not about the activity as such. It is about the intention that we put into this activity. It is more like energetic rather than the actual physical thing that we are doing, which means that essentially it makes no difference what we actually do during our insomnia, because anything can be an effort and anything can not be an effort. It all only depends from what place we are doing certain things. So if we are acting from the place of fear of losing sleep, then we are more likely to teach the brain that there's really something wrong with us and we really need to keep ourselves safe, and therefore we will feel all those fight or flight responses that are aimed to protect us. Or we act from a place of self-care, compassion, or maybe even common sense, which basically the opposite of trying to achieve certain outcome, but more like doing something despite of that. There are several ways how we can identify sleep efforts, but I find that three kind of check questions could be quite helpful. At least they can give us an idea whether something is potentially a sleep effort or not. So the first question is, if I didn't have insomnia, would I still do this? So for example, if I would apply this question on my let's say runs that I was doing in order to exhaust myself, if I would think that, okay, if I didn't have insomnia, would I run today? Most probably my answer would be actually no. I don't really want to run because I'm not really a fan of running. So that was that would be a very strong kind of indicator of this activity being a sleep effort. Now another type of question would be, do I hope that it will make me sleep if I do it, or if it increase my chances of sleeping if I do this? This is more like kind of like straightforward question, where if we clearly have the expectation, if I do, let's say, this meditation, then it is more likely to make me sleep, then it is a sign that possibly we are kind of like trying to control sleep through this activity, and this activity can become kind of like redundant. The third checkpoint could be, it is not really direct, but it's more about like, okay, imagine if I decide to not do this, would this make me more anxious? So it's more about like, okay, I'm about to let go of this sleep effort or about this activity. Would that make me actually feel more anxious? And if we would feel some certain level of anxiety, then it is very likely that it has this intention to make sleep happen, because we don't feel safe without doing particular thing for our sleep. So these questions, like these 3 questions, might tell us what is the origin of our decisions, and they can give us kind of like an idea how to proceed with them. There is no kind of right way or one way of doing this. It is not really about, okay, I see this is a sleep effort and now my task is to stop doing that. It is not really about not doing something, because again, it is not about the activity itself, it's about the intention. All our sleep efforts, they do represent some sort of safety for us. They offer us this psychological safety that can give us this illusionary sense of control over situation, and therefore taking away all sleep efforts at once can be too drastic change. We would feel like we are not we don't have any sort of like safety island where we can escape to, and that can be a very pressuring place to be in. For us to work with sleep efforts, we don't have to get rid of all of them at once. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be very gentle. We can see which of the sleep efforts stop making sense to us and which of them we are ready to let go of, and then just going like kind of like one by one, or something what we are ready for. And let me tell you this, that sometimes it is not really about stopping doing something. It is about recognizing and seeing the nature of our decisions. Sometimes even that level of awareness can neutralize the sleep effort and actually make us feel more free in terms of to choose what we want to do. We can still decide to do a certain thing, but we will not be kind of tricked into illusion, hoping that if we do this, then it will, produce sleep. So we become kind of free. Our actions become kind of free, because we know that nothing from what we do will actually produce sleep. So that means that we can choose to do whatever we want. So essentially, letting go of sleep efforts doesn't necessarily mean we stop doing them. We just let go of the intention behind them. So we let go of that idea that I do this and it will end in this outcome. We more recognize this like, okay, currently I feel like I still want to do, let's say, meditation. I know that it's not going to make me sleep, but it gives me comfort. And I'm okay if it doesn't lead to this outcome. So with that kind of level of recognition, of awareness, this is when sleep efforts basically stop to exist. The intention is no longer there, because we are seeing through the illusion.